Hey, here's a quick video on the Champion 9000 watt dual fuel generator. I just picked this up at Costco. They've had these generators on the shelf for a while there, but I think this week they just started a sale. They had them $100 off down to $5.99, which if you're shopping for a generator, that's a great deal for a generator this powerful for dual fuel for that much wattage for 600 bucks. That's a great deal. So anyway, unboxing it was real easy. The only setup that you had to do was put on the wheels, put on the little stand, the little rubber feet thing here. So I just set this on a cinder block and then bolted that on. You have to connect the battery. So there's just a couple wires here that you connect to the battery because this is electric start. You have to fill it with oil, and it has a warning sticker there to warn you not to start it without oil and blow it up. You can see your panel here, your switches, and all your outlets. One of the main reasons I got this was it can run on propane. So I never planned to run on gas because I don't want to store gas. I'm actually going to be hooking this to a 500-gallon propane tank that powers our house. So running on propane was a big deal. Generator seems to be really easy to use. They give you all these smart start cards here, so there's different cards in here for starting it on gas, starting it on propane, what to do to store it. So they make it real easy. Here's a manual pull start if your battery dies. One nice thing they give you is this is actually a battery trickle charger for your battery. It's kind of cool. So you can plug that in and keep your battery charged up, and if you keep the battery plugged in, it should probably last a long time. It includes the propane hose and the regulator for it to give it the right pressure. So I'll probably be I have to buy an adapter to connect that to the household propane tank. Anyway, I'm going to give it a first start here in a second. It's never been started, so hold on one second. Okay, so first start on the Champion generator. I think I'm ready to go here. Just a checklist of things. Propane's connected. Propane valve is on. Propane's connected here. This is on. By the way, to switch to gas, you turn this off and then slide this over. So you can't have both at the same time. It's kind of nice how they designed that. So there's your propane back on. So it wants you to have about 75% choke. So we'll do that. Got 75% choke. Flip the battery disconnect on, you get a nice little red light. And then we're going to go ahead and give it a start, and once it starts up, I'll throttle back the choke. So we've got oil, we've got the battery connected. You always want to make sure you do your checklist. Okay, maybe I need more choke. Okay, so I was having trouble starting, and I realized because I'm at 6,000 feet above sea level and the carburetors on these generators are jetted for sea level, I don't actually need choke at all. So I was running the choke on, and that was enriching the fuel too much. So when I leave the choke fully off, it fires right up. So let me show you that. So turn the fuel back on, choke is off. Now, turn the battery back on. There we go. Okay, so here's a sound test of the generator. We're inside the house now, and because I have it out below the deck, you really can't hear it. It's pretty quiet. You can hear it in the background, but it's not bad. I think I could deal with that for a couple days. But if you go out on the deck, okay, you can definitely hear it now, but it's about the sound of like a loud conversation out here. It's not terrible. The generator is actually, you can't really see it, but it's down below here, down under there. So running on propane. I think it might be louder running on gas. Let's go around to the front of the house, see how loud it is. So once you go around the side of the house, you can't hear it very much. It kind of drowns out into the background. So there's my panels. My transfer switch is going to go right in here. Hopefully, if it doesn't fit there, then I'll have to put it here. I'm going to do a 10 circuit manual transfer switch. But now I'm around this side of the house and you can't hear it at all. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the install. Thought I'd show you where it actually is. So it's that was a deck I was just standing up on. So anyway, generator's down here. What I think I'm going to do, this isn't really that level, so I'll either pour a little slab, or if I'm lazy, I might just build up a level area and then, you know, put a wood pallet or just a wood base or something, just so that the generator is not on the dirt and then it's more level, so that, you know, it's easy to change oil and things like that, because I don't really plan to move it from here. The other thing I'm going to do, because obviously a deck is not a waterproof roof, I'll probably come off the siding here and build just a little lean-to, just a little like kind of roof for it, so it's not just, you know, getting rain and snow on it. So anyway, still on the portable tank, but it's going to be connected. I've got propane, actually my furnace is right inside here in the basement, so I'm going to just run propane right out here, which is super easy, and then I'll have the 500 gallon propane tank supply, and we should be good for extended power outages. When I do the transfer switch install, I'll take another video for that. Okay, thanks. I wanted to continue the generator project that I showed you the other day with the unboxing and first startup. So my goal has been to connect this to the propane system of the house. We have a 500 gallon tank, so I never want to have to use gasoline, store gasoline. Just want to connect to the 500 gallons that we have and be ready for any extended power outages. So basically, I've been working this morning to get this done. So you can see that I'm using an appliance approved gas line here to connect up to the, this is 3/4 inch gas line, which is approved for use for propane. It's what the rest of the house uses. I put here where it terminates, I've got a switch, so it's currently off, and of course that would be on. You want to have a valve, you know, right at the end here, so you can shut off propane to your generator. And then what I had to do is, because this is 3/4 inch stuff, a 3/4 inch fitting, is there's 3 different step downs here to get it down to the appropriate size that then fits the generator. So make sure, of course, with all your fittings and any connections, that you use plenty of a yellow thread tape approved for gas. That's what the yellow means. So I've run this along the wall here, put brackets. I think you're required to put brackets every like 6 feet or something like that. So I've done that and run it along here. And by the way, I'm not an approved contractor. I don't do this for a living. I'm also not licensed by the gas company. So if I did, it's possible that this is in violation of code or unsafe. So I don't take any responsibility if you do what I did. It's just I think I did it correctly, but anyway, don't take my word for it. So here's where we have an elbow where it goes into the basement. Sorry, here you can see. So let me show you how I've connected it into the basement. So I wanted to make the shortest run that I could. So what I've done is, you can see here's my water heater and here's my furnace. So I had propane already coming down this line here, all right, and coming down and then to these junctions here down to the water heater and furnace. So what I did was, this was a moisture cap on the bottom of this right here. So I simply what I did, or no, it was on the bottom of this. So I added this 3-way T, teed off for my propane going out there. I had to do a dog leg to get it up around some 2x4s and then get it out through the siding. But anyway, I added a T to get a chute off, and then you have to add another piece. You could have used a shorter piece, but I had this piece, and then have your moisture cap there. So again, you need to know what you're doing with propane. Anyway, so that's how I got the propane connected to the house system. So let's do a quick fire up of the generator. So let's fire up the generator just to make sure this all works. So the first thing to do, flip my propane switch on there where it connects to the house, flip my propane on switch on the generator, turn my battery on, start. And there we go. Okay, so we know it works. It's getting enough propane flow and volume from that 3/4 inch line to the generator. And by the way, this, no one ever sees this part of the house. This is under the deck here, so you don't have to make it pretty. I could have run it in the basement. I just didn't want to run propane line through the basement, crawl around through there. I'm just lazy that way, so figured might as well run it outside. So what I'm going to do next is build a platform for the generator using a pallet and some plywood. Screw it together, make a level space here. I'm going to do that now, so I'll have a ground for it. I mean, I could just let it sit in the dirt, but I think it's better to have it on a level, flat surface, so when you need to change the oil or do something. And then I'm also going to build a cover for it that on a hinge that flips up, so if I need to service it or get in there, I won't be hitting my head on it. So that's what I'm going to do now, so I'll check back after that. The end of the day and wrapping up the generator project. So like I said, I built a platform and a roof for it, just to have a nice place to keep it clean and dry and everything like that. So what I did was I mostly used wood and parts and things that I had, so I didn't have to buy a lot of stuff for it. So I used a pallet for the base and then plywood on top of that to make a solid surface. Leveled out the area, used some standoffs from the house, used a piece of plywood for the roof. I put there's hinges here and over there, you just can't see them. There's also, these are also hinged. So what I can basically do is flip the roof up towards, like, and hook it up onto there in case I wanted to kind of lift the roof up high and get it out of the way for some reason. I can do that pretty easily, so I put the stuff on hinges with that in mind. So anyway, looking pretty good so far. Happy with the progress on the project. So next weekend I have to hook up the transfer switch to the electrical panel. So I'll do a short video on that next weekend, and then the project will be done. Thanks. Continuing the generator install. I'm going to finish up the install today. So the last step for my project is installing the transfer switch. So basically, a generator transfer switch allows you to isolate the utility power from a certain number of circuits, usually 6 or 10 circuits. In my case, I bought a 10 circuit box. These run between $300 and $500 typically. I think this one was around $300 on Amazon, made by Connecticut Electric. Try saying that 5 times fast. So anyway, what they really do is, you can see the spaghetti of wires coming out of it. And basically how it acts with your main box is that it's like a power shunt or a transfer. So for each of the 10 circuits, you have to identify the 10 circuits that you want to power, which is a challenge in itself because you're picking 10 circuits out of maybe 20 or more that you might have. So anyway, you got to do that first to make sure you're powering what you want to power. And then you'll run the wiring through, obviously, watertight and code conduit and everything into the main box, your main load center. And what you'll do is each circuit has a red and a black wire, and they're labeled A through J or whatever it is. And you just connect them with a wire nut to the wire that's coming into the circuit breaker now. And then the transfer switch, sitting to the left or right or wherever you put it, has a wire coming in that connects to the existing wire. And so basically what it does is it runs the power through the transfer switch and then back to the load center. Now, you see the switches on here. So, like for instance, the middle is off. Typically these will be switched to line, and when they're on line power, the power is flowing through the transfer box, or from the utility through the transfer box to your main circuit breaker. When you lose power, what you do is you flip each switch to the generator position like this, and then your power is then cut off from the utility for those circuits and flowing from the generator through here back to your load center. So this allows you a safe and legal way to transfer over to generator power for 10 circuits in your house. When the power goes out, you don't have to do anything to this box at all. You don't have to turn things off or anything because you're not backfeeding, you're not doing illegal things like that. So the other components of this install are going to be the power inlet box. So basically these watertight inlet boxes have a I think it's an L430 twist lock connector here for your generator cord, and then you connect this and run some conduit from here into the this is where it comes out of the transfer box. So put this in some conduit, run your inlet wherever you want. So when the power goes out, all you have to do is plug your generator in, get your generator fired up and warmed up, and then come up here and the transfer box, I'll take another video when it's installed, but you'll just flip all these to generator, and then you'll be running those on generator. And then when the power goes back on, you turn your loads off and then turn your generator off. Real simple. I like this box. It has watt meters here, so you can see how much wattage you're pulling on each side. Because these load centers have two sides, you want to make sure to balance your loads. So what I did for myself was I identified the power demands from each of these 10 circuits that I'm running. So like, what appliances am I running? So for instance, I'm putting the fridge and the microwave on separate sides of the transfer switch so that you're balancing the load between the two sides of the generator. Kind of confusing, but you can study up on that. So you want to get this right. And if you have any doubt about what you're doing, you really should be having an electrician do this project. In fact, it's pretty much, I would say, required to have an electrician or someone certified to do this. I'm just offering this as advice, and don't take advice from me. So anyway, I'll follow up later. The generator project. So I've got the transfer box mounted here. I had to switch my location. I was going to mount it to the left, but there's just not enough room here between there and these beams. So anyway, I mounted it here to the right, which meant I had to switch the wires coming out to this side, which is not too hard. So I mounted this in a way that I could use the fitting, the connector that they gave me. So I just put it in the location that worked for that. Routed it around some of this other stuff. The reason I've got all these boxes is that this is all solar. We have solar on the house, so that kind of complicates things a little bit. So anyway, you can see where the wires here, these are your transfer switch wires. They come into your main panel. You knock out one of the plugs here. In my case, I only had knockouts on the right or on the left, so I couldn't come in through the bottom. They were all the ones that the right size ones were used. So anyway, you can see this opens up, and this is your transfer panel. So what I'm going to do now is get these things all wired up to the circuits. When you take the cover off like this, by the way, you should never take the cover off without the power turned off. So the power's turned off here. You don't have your labels anymore, right? So what I'm going to do is get little stickers or something and put my letters here corresponding to what's in my transfer box, so it makes it easy for me to wire. So at this point, really, it's just unplugging wires, doing wire nuts, connecting the wire from the transfer switch, cutting it to length, and it shouldn't take too long, and we should be up and running. Oh, and then I have to run the inlet box here. I'll probably put the inlet box, I guess probably right here. So I just need a little piece of conduit for that, and then that'll be done. So anyway, I'll update you in a few minutes. The transfer switch hooked up. You can see that I ran the flex conduit here, and it connects watertight on both ends. And I put this inner panel back on, but the wires run behind there and then connect to the 10 circuits that I chose, like I described in my last video. You can see the power inlet box. I decided to hook up right here, just below the transfer switch. So I've currently got the generator cord plugged in. So that's pretty easy there. And when we open the transfer box, you can see all of our switches here. So I've got the generator running and warming up. You can kind of hear it in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate power outage by turning off my main. I'm also going to shut down my solar. So now what we're gonna start to do is flip the generator circuits on two at a time. So because I did my best to balance the load, so I'm gonna switch them on each side at a time. So okay, there we go. Generator. All right, you can see my watt meters are starting to climb a little bit. So whatever I've got running on this left one is pulling quite a bit of wattage. It's probably the charger for my electric car. Probably should have unplugged that first. Or it could be the refrigerator, I'm not sure. So that's really how this works. So then you close this up and it's watertight and everything. So right now we're running on generator power. So I'm going to go check out, make sure all my circuits that I wired up are working, and we should be good to go here. So that's the install. If you have any questions, let me know.